guns over the years, but not many have actually been 22s, and even fewer have been designed and manufactured here in the United States. This gun, the Taurus TX 22, is really indicative of where the company is going. This, of course, is a 22 long rifle, semi-automatic pistol. It's blowback operated. It's unique in that it actually has an aluminum slide. This is not steel, it's aluminum. And it has a polymer frame that actually is ergonomically really, really good. You have texturing on what would be the back strap and then on the sides. And then one of the best features on this gun is the trigger. They call it the Taurus Pitman system, and it's a very crisp trigger with no safety blades or anything like that. Taurus had in mind with this gun for it to be an entry-level gun or a trainer for competition or even for use in competition. It's a very user-friendly gun in terms of racking the slide, and just overall there are good places to put your finger here on this side, and then of course for your weak hand you can drop your thumb right in there. So ergonomically it's quite a good gun. The external controls consist of an ambidextrous mechanical manual safety that does not lock the slide. And then of course you have your slide lock on the left, and you have your magazine release in the customary position right behind the trigger. This magazine release is set up for a right-hander right now, but it is fully reversible. Now the gun has something that a lot of other 22s don't have, and that's a 16-round capacity magazine. The magazine body is polymer, but there's a little lip here, a little knob that you push down that actually makes the loading fairly easy. Some 22 magazines are a real pain to load, and this one gets a little tight towards the bottom, but those tabs on the side really help. So for sights, the TX22 has a fixed post front, and then it has an adjustable rear sight. Now this is a 3-dot configuration, and when the gun comes up, they actually are pretty easy to see. Inside the gun, it's interesting. You lock the slide back, and then much like a Glock pistol, you pull these tabs down, release the slide to go forward, and pull the trigger. You just simply slide the receiver and the slide apart. Inside the slide, of course, you have the recoil spring and guide rod. It's a flat coil spring and a polymer guide rod. Barrel comes out. Then you can see inside the slide right here, you have a steel insert, which of course is the breech face, and it also retains the hook extractor on the right side of the breech face. So very clever in how they put this together, and of course a cap holds the whole thing together. Now interestingly, this is a blowback operated gun, but it's very easy to put back together. That's one of the things that Taurus was going for on the TX22, make it easy for the operator. And you have on the frame, you can see these short rails for the slide. There's not much going on there. You have 2 short ones here at the back and 2 short ones there at the front. And you simply take the gun, you line them up, and then you just push down. You push down on them, pull the slide back, the entire gun's assembled again. So Taurus has really stepped outside of the box with the TX22. This is not a gun that we were expecting to see, but it's really an indicator of where Taurus is going. It's got a lot of features, a good trigger, and of course it's affordable. The Czechs actually have a very long history of good pistol design. After World War II, they fell under the Iron Curtain, but they didn't want to adopt the Tokarev, so they came up with a roller-locked VZ52.
The Czechs have always been a very innovative nation in gun design. And like a lot of other countries, you can look at a Czech gun and know it was designed in Czechoslovakia. You say, how do you know? Well, you just know. You look at it, it looks Czechoslovak. And the CZ52 doesn't disappoint you in that regard. It is unmistakably a Czech gun.
The Czech VZ52 pistol is also known as simply Czech 52, so it's a V52. And the reason that it has a different nomenclature is that the Czechs in the same year designed a VZ52 short rifle. And VZ in Czech is model. So in order to differentiate the two, that's often called just a CZ or CZ52 pistol.
The VZ52 is kind of a clunky Cold War Iron Curtain military pistol. Its claim to fame is that it has an unusual roller-locked short recoil action, which is based on the German MG-42 machine gun. Now, this was a machine gun that was designed in World War II by guys who were not gun designers, so they had no preconceived ideas about what should and couldn't be done, and they actually came up with one of the best light machine guns of World War II. But really, this VZ52 is one of only 2 handguns to have used this system.
I'm not exactly sure when the development process on the CZ52 pistol started, but by 1948, Czechoslovakia was firmly in the hands of the Soviet Union and behind the Iron Curtain. So the Czechs had no choice but to chamber this gun in the standard Soviet handgun round of the time, which was 7.62 by 25 millimeter Tokarev.
It has all kinds of little weird design quirks about it. The grips were held on by a big steel spring clip, which meant that in service the grips were always loose.
It was originally a double action, but was changed to single action. Interestingly, they kept a decocking feature on their safety for their single action, so it has 3 positions: safe, fire, and then up for decock. Some users have criticized this, saying that the position of the safety can result in accidentally applying the safety to the on position when experiencing the recoil of a round being fired, putting the gun on safe unintentionally.
The gun itself is a bit clunky, and frankly, I'm not sure why the Czechs adopted it at all. They had access to the Tokarev, they had their earlier guns, but for some reason they thought they needed a big, heavy, roller-locking semi-automatic pistol. And not to be cruel and to pile on, but by 1952, the world knew a little bit more about sights than they did, say, in the 1920s. And frankly, the sights on the CZ52 are not very good.
Up until the first surplus deal, they were considered to be a very rare gun because Czechoslovakia was at that time embargoed, and the only way anybody could get a Czech gun into the United States around our State Department, who is the font of all wisdom in these things, was to bring it in through Canada. And I remember inspecting 1 or 2, and they were extremely rare in the United States. You could read magazine articles about them, but actually handling the hardware was more difficult. But later on, Century International made a deal in Czechoslovakia. This was after Czechoslovakia was removed from the proscribed country list. And the guns came in quantity, and they were inexpensive, a powerful, accurate shooter for around $100.